Hello and welcome to Vegetarian for Life. Get ready for Veganuary 2022. So I'm here, rowing chef Justina, working for charity Vegetarian for Life. So today I will show you how to make a couple of dishes as well as give you some tips and perhaps some good ideas how to prepare for Veganuary. So to start with, you might be new. What is Veganuary? Maybe you have never heard of Veganuary before. So that's a challenge which people every year celebrate in January. So in January, there's a whole month where people don't eat possibly the things they used to eat or they used to. So they are vegan for a whole month. So forget about everything derived from animal products. That means milk, such as well as butter, eggs, even honey, meat, and fish. So those things are not consumed by vegans. So now you might think you want to participate perhaps in your care home with this idea, which is really brilliant. I really encourage you to do that. So today I will show you a couple of recipes. So I will show you the versatile stew and a cake, which is vegan apricot cake, which tastes delicious, and it can be easier to make that. It's so simple. So if you're looking after some ideas and getting just general feel what a veganuary might be like, I encourage you to prepare early. That's the key, preparation. So don't wait until 1st of January. Prepare now. Do your orders, perhaps get some ideas. So if you are interested in this, I will tell you how to prepare. So something you should keep in mind is ingredients. So you want to prepare with your pantry. Order some ingredients from possibly your wholesaler. If you can't get some things, perhaps your local supermarket will do. So some ideas which I think, these are products which I think you should have in your fridge or in your pantry. So just to show you, so something what you don't have to have, but it's quite convenient to have vegan double cream. So it's just whips, just like double cream. It's mainly from aquafaba. If you don't know aquafaba, it's made from lentil or pea protein, something of leftover of chickpeas when you drain them. That's the liquid in there. Might seem not the most delicious thing, but when it all combines all together and fluffs up, it's really nice and yummy. So today as well, I'm going to be using oat milk. So oat milk is a really good addition. So when you pour it, it looks like that. So let's start with our cake. So I already have flour and baking powder in here and have my oat milk here. So what I'm going to do, I have some vinegar and lemon juice. So pour it in there. Very similar how you could make buttermilk for pancakes perhaps. It's just really similar way. So what we want to see is starting to curdle. So when you do this and you start seeing curdle, don't be frightened. That's how it's supposed to be. So this recipe obviously have no eggs because vegan don't consume eggs. And I already have my flour ready in sieve. So I'm just going to sieve that once. So just going to sieve that quickly and adding extra air. So if you're interested in doing some activities in your care home, Vegetarian for Life offers Show You Care Award. So that's a grant you can receive for doing activities in your care home. It's up to £1,000, which is great. So if you want to learn more about this, please visit vegetarianforlife.org.uk website and you will be able to read and perhaps even participate in this. So we really like you to share your ideas for Veganuary, and you might be a little bit unsure what to do yet. So perhaps as simple as creating a supper club or something like that for vegans so they could be included. Obviously have vegan options, perhaps having meat-free days or meat-free Mondays for maybe for the whole year. That's something really simple to achieve and could start in Veganuary because it's a good time to start of the year and people perhaps will be more willing to take part. So our flour is sieved and next I'm gonna add all the dry ingredients and liquid ingredients separately. So I have just vegetable oil going in our oat milk and apple cider vinegar mixture. Then I have sugar. You can use any sugar, just using caster sugar. Of course, if you use any other sugar, it will have a little bit more color. So now I don't want to over mix this. So quickly mix the sugar and the flour all together. And then I have wet ingredients. Just gonna do a quick mixture with the whisk. And then very quickly, don't over mix this. Just pouring that in whilst mix that in. Mixing all in really quickly. At this point, we can add a little bit of vanilla essence or vanilla bean pod, whatever you have, just a little bit of flavor in our sponge. So just mixing that in. Lovely. So what I want to do, just see that everything is incorporated. No large clumps of flour, and everything is really nice and smooth. Since all the ingredients already hit each other, so all the wet ingredients starting to mix with wet, all the raisin agents activating. So there's no eggs, so really relying on these raisin agents as well as self-raising flour. Just pouring in that my pre-lined baking tin, which is round with like a silicone paper around there, so it's really nice and easy to remove. Spreading it around. Then the key in this is apricots. So you can use apricot or peaches, halves or slices. I'm using apricot halves in juice. So I drain the juice. Now I'm gonna have the halves just added on the top. Really nicely. You can actually pack them quite tight because it will expand as it dries and will look a little bit empty if you space them out. So just place them on the top. Obviously, if you have, you can use just fresh ones, but then you have to peel the skins off. They're a little bit more time consuming then. Feel free to do upside down or one way or another. It's completely up to you. So just adding those in, just take care when you grab them because they might be a little bit, want to escape your fork. So this is ideal cake if you're perhaps considering to do afternoon tea, vegan afternoon tea. That sounds brilliant to me. So that's something you can include everyone, perhaps making some vegan sandwiches using no tuna sandwich, which is chickpeas and vegan mayonnaise mixed up together. And then you have no tuna sandwiches. So here we go. Our cake is ready. So I'm going to pop that in the oven, 180 degrees for 30 to 40 minutes. Okay, so cake is in the oven. So now we can talk a little bit more about our main. So I have other ingredients in here which might not be using today. So I will show you some of them. So flaxseed or linseed otherwise. So this little bit of seeds, they're used in replacement of egg. So this time we used oils to kind of incorporate everything together to make the cake. But sometimes you grind the seeds to make the egg, so flaxseed egg it's called. So that's something useful if you're making a bread perhaps, or making some sort of smaller muffins. You just grind them together and add it in. So that's another good thing to have in your pantry. You can buy them already milled in lots of supermarkets. Hopefully your wholesaler will have that as well. So then we have nutritional yeast. So that's something I definitely advise you to have. It has really cheesy taste. Now if I show you, just like flakes, really cheesy and yellow flavor. It has, as you see, B12, which is really important for vegans. So that's already fortified and you can get that out of your food. As well as most of the vegan milks are fortified with such vitamins. So keep an eye on that. So that's a good addition if you want to make perhaps vegan cheese, so cashew nuts, minced with this nutritional yeast and just sprinkle on top of pasta. Brilliant. Cheese sauces, really easy solution. Obviously could have vegan cheese as well. So okay, gonna start doing our main. It's called versatile stew. Just pressing it on. Just a little bit of noise whilst induction heats up. So this is brilliant recipes if you like lentils. Lentils has a lot of protein and perhaps everybody can enjoy that. So perhaps meat-free Mondays and lentil stews, it's a really good idea. You can make shepherd's pie perhaps. Obviously, if you want more advices on recipes, our website is full of recipes. So I will be using red lentils for this recipe. Obviously, if you prefer, you can actually buy tinned or actually just lentils like that. So green lentils takes a little bit longer to cook. They have a little bit more bite to it. So it could be a nice filling or even replacement instead of bread. So here we go. This is brilliant. You just have that on your pantry. And then you just make anything as if like could be a risotto, could be a curry, anything as addition to green lentils. So have that, really convenient. So then now we're gonna start this dish. So we're gonna use leeks. So this is the start of the dish, leeks. So obviously make sure been washed and trimmed. Just gonna slice that and chop that. Just make sure it's all sticks together. Another sneak peek. If you preparing something and perhaps you have a brilliant idea, you want to share it with us and be able to win a prize when you are selected. So if you have a great idea, we're really looking forward what you're going to do in Veganuary in your care home. So that's something I'm looking forward to, your ideas, and hopefully we will see some perfect things you applied in your care home. So that's something you definitely should look into. Okay, so another thing is reading labels. So it's really important to read labels. So perhaps something such as lentils will have displayed little logos, as you see in here. It has a little V here, so it says vegan, so that means vegan friendly. Sometimes some ingredients just say vegetarian, and you might question why is vegetarian. Sometimes it's just has not approved. Obviously you can look for vegan society logo. It's just really easy to spot. Just read the label, quickly look through the whole ingredient list and see if it's any milk. Obviously will be highlighted in capitals and bold and really easy to find. And then you actually look for regular ingredients such as fish, eggs. Be aware of different ingredients might be using different names. So for example, sometimes you have sugars from milk, could be named as whey protein, different kind of names for milk or egg. So just cooking my leeks off in a little bit of oil. So don't want it to be too brown, just giving it a little bit of color and until it's all see-through. Okay. Okay, so next we're gonna add an onion, another extra flavor. So you might be a bit like onion, and you have leeks, so really onion soup, but it's really nice to pack the flavors in. So that's really important when you make vegetarian or vegan food. Make sure you layer the flavors. So don't put too much salt. Seasonings such as herbs and spices are really important. So don't forget about those. All right, so you might want to include some nuts as well. Nuts are really good protein and really full of good fats. So perhaps you want to buy some nuts and make perhaps just a platter of grabbing some nuts as a snack. So that's ideal if you have a vegan or vegetarian around, or anybody else. It's really nice and healthy. As well as having some simple, perhaps nut butters. If you have it for breakfast, you can add it in smoothies, on the toast. It's just really nice. Not only tasting great, but it's really good to fulfill you. So that's really good to have in your cupboard. And obviously it keeps well as well. So that's good addition. Okay, just making sure our leeks cooking all the way through. Another important thing is just making sure that ingredients you already have might be accidentally vegan. Something as biscuits or gravy powders, often already vegan, but might be not advertised as vegan product. So just have a look on the label, and perhaps already vegan, and you don't have to buy a lot of new ingredients. But be aware of hidden milk powder and stock, and just simple things you might not even think. So always check before serving. So that's really useful. So just chopping the onion quite finely and adding into our pot. So obviously have a larger pot for this, just because it will fill up with the stock. Okay, mixing all the way through. All right, so that's looking lovely. Now we're gonna add celery and carrots. So more vegetables, more flavor, more nutrients. So that's perhaps what we want to go with. But when you cook, you can cook larger batches. So this stew is only a small one. On the website, there's a larger batch for the stew. So you can obviously cook in advance and have that ready. So obviously enjoyed by anybody and could be served with bread or anything you prefer to serve your stews with. Perhaps you want to be interested in looking into some reading for vegetarians and vegans. I think that's a good idea to keep them interested in what's out there, what's happening, as well that vegetarian and vegan diets are not only just the food preference, it's lifestyle. So perhaps they really truly believe in some animal welfare and you really want to update what's going on in your life currently. So perhaps getting them some books to read, or perhaps even as Vegetarian for Life publications, if they're interested to just read more about nutrition or more recipes, just have something to read. That's a good idea. Just even looking through the pictures and getting kind of familiar with what's going on in the world. So that's another option you could have. Okay, so I'm gonna dice the carrot quite small. Obviously, you could grate that, but it's gonna be boiling all together. So it's quite well. So before you might be a bit confused before starting Veganuary. What are you gonna cook and what are you gonna make? There's so many recipes using jackfruit and tofu, and perhaps you have never cooked with it before. Just to calm you down, it's not as tricky as you might think. It's very simple to cook with tofu. Jackfruit, make sure that people are okay eating such food. Jackfruit is not a protein. It's actually as a fruit, so it has a lot of fiber, which fiber is really important, but unfortunately it is not a protein. So you cannot be replacing a meat or anything in stews in hope that it's going to have the same amount of protein. Whilst tofu is a really good idea to add in your dishes. Just lovely taste, spongy and protein. So it soaks up flavors really easily. So this one is firm tofu and comes in the liquid. So what do you want to do when you cook with tofu? Let's say you're making a stir fry or satay dish. So you just have to drain the liquid and squeeze the tofu out. So as much as you can squeeze it out. So leave it perhaps for an hour. Add some tins on the top. Just kind of make sure all the liquid leaves the tofu. Then you can marinate it or you can pan fry it. Just add extra taste and extra texture to it. So it's really lovely if you make it satay. So you have a little bit of peanut butter perhaps in there. In a stir fry, it will soak up the soy sauce or any sauce you add on top. Really lovely. Just carries it over nicely. So tofu, firm one, really easy to fry with. And then we have silken tofu, which I will show you how to serve with that. So silken tofu is a little bit different. So it has been set in calcium, so it's not only rich in protein, but rich in calcium as well, which is a win-win. So just mixing in all our carrots. So see, leeks already cooked all the way through. And then we have cooked onion. So next, we're going to start thinking about flavoring. So we're going to add a little bit of flour to thicken it up. Obviously, if you prefer to use corn flour, you just add it a little bit later. But if you're using flour, just adding it now. And then mix it through the vegetables. Okay, then we're going to start adding our lentils. So using red lentils in this case, which red lentils takes very short time to cook, which is perfect for this. So just mixing it all, heating a little bit all the way through. Make sure there's no lumps of flour. And then we're going to be ready to add our vegetable stock. Feel free to use some wine if you like. This recipe requests to use wine or porter, but I will be using vinegar just to add extra acidity in there. So I don't want any of that wine flavor, just a little bit of acidity. So a good squirt of vinegar. So that's brilliant. So mix that up. Just put it on max. Make sure it starts to boil again, and then we're going to turn it down. So now we're going to wait until it starts to boil, and then we're going to add our chopped tomatoes. So already started thinking about flavoring. So we're going to use tomato paste to get extra intense tomato flavor. So just adding a tablespoon of tomato puree. So then we're gonna think about flavors. As I mentioned, it's really important to pack your flavors in with herbs and spices. So we're gonna use fresh rosemary, then gonna use fresh garlic, and then gonna add some bay leaves and cloves. So before you add your cloves and bay leaves, count them, 2 of each. So when stew is finished, I know to fish them out before I serve. So add them in. As for rosemary, just use the fresh rosemary, take all the bits off, and perhaps reserve a little bit of the nicer looking one so you can just put it as a garnish. So just reserving the top and taking the rest off to be chopped. Whilst this is boiling, I'm gonna add our chopped tomatoes in here and then mix that in. So just wanted to leave it to cook for a couple of minutes and see how it's cooking. So just want to slowly simmer this. Don't want to be boiling rapidly as it is now. Okay, all the way mixed. Make sure all your spices are sort of in the mixture, and then gonna lower the temperature a little bit. Then gonna crush our garlic. Feel free to use lazy garlic or garlic powder, but this is a little bit stronger taste, so that's what I prefer to use. So chop that up. So if you're really thinking, okay, this recipe is something you could include, you will need to get the ingredients. If lentils is not something you stock, perhaps you want to buy some dry lentils and have it ready. Obviously, a lot of herbs. You can actually buy dried herbs if you prefer, but herbs is essential because it has a lot of flavor in there. So as well, something to consider is meat replacements. So obviously you've seen a lot of meat replacements in supermarkets, and perhaps you're thinking that you're going to replace everything with fake meat. But really be aware, a lot of people might not be okay eating meat replacements. They might not be really comfortable chewing such things, as well as if you serve already vegan, a ham sandwich which has just fake ham. It might be a bit of confusion there. Is it actually a fake ham? If they have never seen the product before. So do really consider before buying any meat replacements. The meat replacements are really easy addition perhaps for vegan breakfast. It's quite nice and easy swap. You can even buy bacon and sausages in vegan packages, which obviously have a look. Some of them will be only vegetarian friendly. So if you're preparing for veganuary specifically, do check for vegan labels. And then we're leaving this to simmer whilst we make our tofu dessert. So another couple of ingredients I should mention is plant butter. So that's something you don't have to have. It's just really nice if everybody is having perhaps vegan scones or scones if you prefer, and just having a little bit of butter. If they ask for some butter with a bread whilst having a soup, you are prepared. So vegan butter, you just find that and just have that in opposite time, which is brilliant. Then you can have custard powder. So when it comes to dessert time, even the cake we are making could be served with custard. So then you have your oat milk or any other milks which are plant. So oat milk doesn't have a strong flavor, so it's quite nice to start with. Obviously, soya milk, it's really popular, or almond milk. There's loads of different ones. Just check what you can buy from your wholesalers. So the powder, it's really nice and easy to make and could be vegan as well because there's no milk in most of these powders. Obviously, do check the brand you're purchasing, which might contain some milk powder in there, but just have a look. It's really handy to have. As well, we're going to use this Henderson relish. So you might be familiar with Worcestershire sauce, which has actually anchovies. So it's fish. It's not suitable for vegans or vegetarians. So this Henderson relish is vegan friendly. So buy that instead and have it instead of Worcestershire sauce perhaps. So we're going to add it in lentil stews or even lasagnas. This stew will have that in after it's finished cooking. So it's really handy to have. So now we're going to start with our silken tofu. So silken tofu, as I showed you in the package, it's not stored in the fridge section. If you perhaps thinking, oh, well, it will take a lot of space in the fridge if you buy a bulk of it, It just sits on your pantry. It's something really nice and easy just to grab if you want to make a very simple dessert. So it looks like that. Looks a little bit like curd. If you blend it all in, just like that, it will taste very similar to yogurt. So you can make tofu yogurt flavored with bananas or something really nice and easy. I'm going to use my small food processor. If you have a RoboCube, it will be ideal for making large batches, and it will sit in the fridge until it's ready to serve. So it needs to set for at least half an hour in the fridge. So something to keep in mind, and you can prepare in advance. It's a really nice and easy recipe. So if you want to serve that straight away, perhaps someone requested some vegan dessert and you didn't have anything, make sure you have at least one of them in the fridge ready to go. So just adding half of the packet in here, just in the food processor because it's quite small. Then gonna take quite a ripe banana and then gonna squish it up a little bit. Make sure it's nice and soft before it goes in. Just makes it a little bit easier for the food processor. Doesn't have to be a banana, could be without bananas, could be avocado, or even if you don't like any of these, frozen cauliflower. That's some ideas which you can put in the smoothie and hide with loads of flavor. But obviously you have to experiment with that. So adding these in, then we're gonna flavor it with cocoa powder. So cocoa powder, it's cooking cocoa powder or plain one. So it has no added milk powder and no sugar. So it's not drinking chocolate. So make sure you don't use drinking chocolate because it's likely to have milk powder in there. Once again, still do check. So just a teaspoon. Obviously, you can use chocolate, just melt the chocolate. But if your ingredients are a little bit on the colder side, it will start to set as you start blending everything in. So make sure, keep everything room temperature and your chocolate on the warmer side, and then mix it all in. And then we're gonna add a little bit of lemon, so fresh lemon juice, just a little bit juice to kind of alleviate the flavors. And then we're gonna add a little bit of vanilla extract. So vanilla extract already is sweet, so do check. Sometimes it has alcohol in here, and mostly it's vegan. Then we're gonna use agave nectar. So then once again, one of those things you don't have to have, but it's nice to have. So it's quite sweet. It's a little bit sweeter than golden syrup. It could be used instead of honey. You can get the darker or lighter version. It's a little bit more pricey, but it's something which is quite nice to use. So just gonna add a little dash on that. So make sure it's not too much. If you use obviously bananas or no chocolate, so then it will be sweeter automatically. So now we just want to pack it more flavors in there as well. So will be loads of tasty protein in there. So adding the top one, and then gonna make a little bit of noise. So do apologize for that. And then we can start on the low and then increase the speed. As well, if it's not blending well enough, add a dash of your plant milk in there. All right, so that looks done. So it's quite smooth paste. So let me show you. This really smooth paste. So that will set in the fridge for at least half an hour and be even smoother and silkier. So I'll have to mix our stew, so make sure it doesn't catch on the bottom. It looks really nice, so it's cooking really well. I'm going to turn down the heat because it thickened it up a lot. So I'll show you in a minute how it looks. So just mix it all in. Make sure still bay leaves are hidden underneath all the lovely lentils in here. It smells really nice. So that's another thing. Perhaps if you're looking for activities in your care home, you might want to involve people in cooking. That's already raises an appetite and more. Some people really love cooking like I do. So I would like to just do something hands-on, perhaps making some breads, making vegan scones, and perhaps just chopping some things or peeling some carrots for the dinner. So it's something really simple and makes people feel special and more part of the food process. So just let people fall in love with food again. So we're gonna serve our mousse in this glass. I'm not gonna chill this mousse for this purpose because it will take a while. We'll keep an eye on our cake since it has been half an hour. So when you serve your mousse, feel free to add extra layers. You can even have a layer of peanut butter or anything else in there just to have extra taste. So perhaps you're going for Snickers kind of taste. So have peanut butter inside there as well. So that would be quite a nice addition. And then we want to think about presentation. So currently it looks a little bit perhaps boring. Obviously it has some ripples of chocolate. It looks quite nice. But then we're going to add extra volume. So then we're going to add a little bit of chocolate on the top. So I made those before and just have them here. Then I have cocoa nibs. Once again, another natural vegan chocolate addition to this. Obviously this vegan chocolate on the top as well. So it just looks like that. Really nice. Perhaps serving with some biscuits so you can dip them in the mousse or just by itself. Just really nice, especially for an evening. If you want to add a little bit of mint, perhaps for Christmas kind of feel. So that's something you could do as well if you're serving that all year round. So that's really nice and simple. It should go in the fridge for at least half an hour. So now we're going to check on our cake. So wait for a moment. All right, so our cake is ready. Just look at that. So it possibly will need another couple of minutes. It is nice and brown and the fruit is sitting on the top lovely. So you're gonna cut that in and you'll see some more fruit in the middle because they have sunken a little bit. So that's really nice to serve for your tea. So it's quite hot, so I'll just place that on the board. And then gonna check our stew. Looks like it's ready to serve. So it depends how many lentils you add. So I only added 100 grams of lentils, but it basically fill up half of the pot. So if you add more water, if you want it a little bit runnier, or perhaps you want it a little bit more thick, so let it cook a little bit longer. But I think it's ready to serve. It looks really nice. So we're gonna take one of the dishes and then just serve that. So it could be served once again with any additions you like. So even nutritional yeast, you can sprinkle a little bit of that for extra taste. And we reserve that little bit of rosemary on the top. And then we have our stew. So really nice and easy to make. Only took us a really short period of time. And it's really tasty. I promise you that. So I hope you got a little bit of ideas for veganuary. And I really hope you're going to share them. Once again, just to recap, order ingredients in advance, pre-prepared, and do share what you're going to do. So really looking forward to that. So once again, read your labels, look at some recipes on vegetarianforlife.org.uk website, and I hope you can have lovely veganuary. So see you around. Thank you. Bye-bye.